Hello, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the next Fireside Chat session today, a series of webinars that's focused on some selected topics. Today's topic is compliance. This is Vishakha Bhave from Exxat. I'm just going to give one more minute for more folks to trickle in. I'll go on mute and we'll resume again in a minute. All right, I'm back. Hello, everyone, and good morning. This is Vishakha Bhave from Exxat, and welcoming all of you to our next session in the Fireside Chat series. Today's session is on compliance management. So, our presenters today are Anupam Jain and Kiran. Both of them are our product managers for the compliance module that we offer in Prism. Today, they have come up with topics that we think we want more feedback and want to have a discussion and your input as the users on some of the sticky areas on compliance. We also want to discuss with you what you can expect in terms of this compliance module evolving in our Prism software, and kind of hearing you, collecting feedback from you, and validating some of the implementation approaches that our teams are thinking about. So that's going to be the whole goal of the next hour or so. A couple of housekeeping items. We have Kanti also from Exxat joining. She will be manning the questions section. So feel free to type in your questions, any comments that you have throughout the presentation. We will also take breaks during the presentation to kind of kickstart a discussion or ask you some questions and try and collect your feedback on those topics. Also feel free to raise your hands. We will unmute you, and then you can speak up, or if you're having technical challenges, you can always type up in the question sections and we'll read it out. So either way works. We may have some questions for you, and we may ask you to raise your hands to be able to collect your feedback on that. So we'll go that way. So we have a PDF of the deck that is going to be used for these presentation attached to the GoToWebinar. So feel free to download it and follow us along via that. And any other technical difficulties or questions or comments you have, please feel free to use the questions pane, which will be monitored by us. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to pass it on to Kiran and Anupam. Please take it away from here.
Thanks for the introduction, Vishaka. Good morning, everyone. All right. So our topic, of course, is compliance, as Vishaka called out. We have 4 very specific topics that we want to discuss with you today. They can help you with setting up your cohorts, setting up the compliance requirements for your students, helping them fulfill those. We also cover topics around sharing those, those compliance requirements with either your site personnel or your preceptors. And then the last topic that we want to cover is around the notifications that we support in the compliance module. Right? So that's the agenda. Let's dive into level of details captured. So what is the idea around this topic? We want to understand how much information do you capture for each of the required documents that you have in your program's required documents, right? When you you can set up your compliance documents to capture these varied level of details as per the needs of your program. And we want to walk you through a couple of ways in which you can do that, right? So when you create a new required document, you can decide from an option of 4 fields. And Kiran, let's go to the live screen. And so what you're looking at on your screens right now is the setup screen for a test school that we have in our system called Exxat Sales. And in this setup screen, you're basically seeing all the documents which are set up for this cohort, which is class 2025, right? Now, if you create a new required document, something that you want for your own school, you get an option of 4 fields: a completion date, an expiration date, uh, and 2 text fields that allow you to capture any relevant data that you might need might feel important for your school, right? So now, for instance, in case of this CPR document that Kiran has just opened, uh, we felt that along with the start date and the expiration date, we also wanted to capture the certifying agency, right? The agency from which the student got their CPR certification, right? As you can see, these fields are, uh, you know, uh, blank. They allow you to put in any label that you want, right? So you can decide the exact name of the field, as per your liking. And you can change the label. You can add different labels. You can change the label of all of these 4 fields: the start date, the completion date. You can call it anything that you want based on your requirement. So this is how it shows up on the setup screen, right? On the if you look at this requirement from the point of view of an admin or a student, you would see that field as the field that we just added, this certifying agency. It will show up as a text field, a free text field, but as a mandatory field that the student has to now provide, right? So he could, for instance, write American Health Association for the certifying agency for the CPR certificate, right? So that's the idea around these fields. So this is one way of, or one level of level of information that you can capture: 2 dates and 2 text fields, and you can play around what fields you want to capture, what dates you want to capture. Now, apart from this, Exxat also offers a list of standard documents out of the box for most common requirements that schools are looking for. And Kiran, let's go to the class 2026, because that's a fresh cohort which has not been set up yet, right? So you see all these requirements like COVID-19, vaccination, flu, hepatitis B. All these requirements come as a library, as they come out the box in your setup screens, right? You can always use them to to ask for these specific requirements from your students. You don't have to create them from the scratch. They are for you, present in the setup when you first create the cohorts, right? So when you're setting up such documents, when you're setting up these standard documents, and let's pick up, let's pick up Hep B. So when you pick up a document like Hep B, what you see are 2 options: the simplified or the detailed, right? These are the 2 options that you see at any time on the setup screen, and you can decide between one or the other. And let's dive into what these are. So if you select the simplified flow, what you get is very similar to what we saw for CPR, right? You get 2 date fields and you get 2 text fields that you can decide the labels for, right? Let's also maybe select the expiration so that we are able to show the expiration date, right? So you can select, out of these 4 fields, you can choose whatever you want to choose, right? So this is the simplified, and it's very similar to your user-defined requirements, and it's the lesser level of details. If you go to the detailed layout, what you get is a far more elaborate, list of information that you want to capture. A lot of information for each of the standard documents, right? So the detail layouts are, we call them multitask or multi-section requirements. Why? Because they have several sections for capturing the different types of evidence or proof you would require from your students for that compliance, right? For instance, in case of hepatitis B, you could, in addition to the vaccination for hepatitis B, also ask for a titer for that, right? Some schools also allow declinations, right? So these are kind of things that a detailed layout allows you to capture, and each of these tasks and sections have their own fields inside, right? So you would have a completion date for the titer, you would have completion date for the vaccination, you have dose dates for specific vaccination. So in case of hep B, you would have 2 dose date fields. In case of polio, you'll have 3 or 4 dose date fields, right? So that's the idea that if you go for a detailed layout, you have far more amount of information, whereas if you go for a simplified layout, you have lesser amount of information. And what that does is it makes the simplified layouts easier to fulfill for the students, right? And for you to review, because there are lesser number of fields, there are lesser number of sections. Uh, Kiran, why don't we go to, let's say, a COVID vaccination document, and let's see it from the side of the student or the admin, so that we can see the fields how they appear. Yeah, let's go to 2025. Yeah, and go to the summary screen for. Okay, yeah, we can look at the setup first. So in case of COVID vaccination, we have your COVID doses. Depending on your school's requirement, you could be asking for one or two booster shots after the basic 2 shots. But you could also be asking tighter details, right? So as you can see in this setup, we have not really added tighter details, but you can just use the checkbox to say that I also want to capture the tighter details, right? So these are how these documents are set up. Now, if you look at it from the admin side, we had only added the dose 1 and dose 2 sections, right? So if you go to the summary screen and look at the COVID vaccination from there, these are the 3 tasks that you had selected in your setup screen, and these are the 3 tasks that you will see for the students, right? So for COVID dose 1, you can capture the dose date, the manufacturer, the lot number. The same thing can be done for dose 2, right? So if you scroll down further, you'll see the dose 2 section, and you can fill that information here. Now, if you compare this to a simple layout, you would probably just have a start date and an end date. Like when did you finish your all your vaccinations, and when will they expire? That's all, right? You could, for instance, add the manufacturer and lot number also in the text field, but these are the only 4 fields you capture in a simple layout. Versus here, you have dedicated fields for each of the doses, right? So this is like a prime difference that we can see in the detail versus the simplified layouts. Like I said earlier, simplified layouts are easier to fulfill for the students and for you to review, but they also capture less information. The detailed layouts, on the other hand, capture a wealth of details that can be used for reporting purposes. Let's say a site is interested in knowing the exact dates on which student had taken all their booster shots. The detailed layout also captures all those supporting evidence under one document, right? For instance, one of your stricter sites says that they need the students to provide not just information of the vaccination, but also of the titer for an infectious disease. So this is the benefit that you can see with detailed layout. Now, of course, if you're capturing more information, that more information then can be viewed and analyzed and shared through various means, right? And one such means is the document details report that allows you to fetch an Excel file for all the values input by the students for all documents. Let's look at it now. So let's go to cohort of 2022. There is some data there, and the document details report button appears right on the summary screen. When you press it, it shows you a pop-up saying that it may take some time because there's a lot of data that we are churning there. But when you open the file, the report that gets downloaded, what you see is all the fields that the students had captured for all their requirements sitting in individual columns, right? For instance, in here, we can see that these students for COVID-19 vaccinations, the status is approved, as you can see. But then you can also see the dose date for each of the doses, right? So for dose 1 date, it's 5/10. And then you can see the manufacturer and the lot. And then again, for those two also you'll have the same information captured, right? So these are the kind of reports that you can fetch because you've captured all that information. And if your sites demand that information, or if a portal where you have to upload student information demands that information, you can use such reports to do that. All right. We want to do a small poll now, and the poll is around. So maybe we can show the poll. Yeah. So the question that we want to ask you all is, which layout do you prefer for your program? Is it the detailed layout, or is it the simplified layout? Or is it a mix of both depending on the required document that you are setting up?
If you could just type up your response, pick one of the three options that Anupam is showing. Oh, there's actually a poll for you too. Great. Yeah, please go ahead and respond to the poll. I think
Okay.
Anupam
We only have like 3 attendees. I think I can close the poll. So one is saying simplified layout, and one response we got is a mix of both depending on the requirement.
All right. So I see that the current audience set is more inclined towards the simplified layout. I'm assuming it helps them review the documents faster. If you have any specific comments around why you prefer simplified over detailed, you can type that out in the comment box. So do let us know what you think about that. We have one more question for you, which is more of an open discussion, and we can, Kanti, I hope we can let the speakers, speak out on their view on this. So the question that we have is that in case of some requirements, at times we've heard these requests where the schools don't even want to capture of any thing for the document. It's just more of a yes no sort of question where, oh, it's like, have you done something for this requirement, right? So like for instance, we've heard that for something like a HIPAA training or a FERPA training, there are the certifications are captured in a different system, and the only thing that the schools want to capture in Exxat is to see if the student is actually compliant for that or not, right? So the question is that, are there some required documents in your program where the students are expected to just attest that they are compliant without having to provide any supporting evidence to go along with it, right? So that's the question that we have for all of you. And if you have any, like any responses, you can, raise your hand, and Kanti can mute you and help you speak out your response.
Yeah, please raise your hand so I can unmute you, or you can just type in your question or the response under the questions and I can read it out loud. So let's give a couple of minutes to see if anybody wants to speak.
And Anupam, this question really you're trying to find out from the audience if they would want their students to fulfill a compliance requirement without forcing them to upload a document, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I'm not seeing any hand raises, or yeah, I think there is a question. Okay. This is from Anne. Okay, her response is no. I don't think there are any requirements, at least from
Got
Anne's. Yeah, where she does not want the students to upload any documents.
Okay. All right. Thanks for that, Anne. So with this, we can go to our next section, which is around fulfillment by school. So at times, schools upload required documents on behalf of students, and the compliance module provides you various ways to achieve this.
Anupam, sorry to cut you off. I think Anne
Yeah.
like put in more information, so let me read it out
Yeah.
before we start.
Sure.
So sometimes the site does not need to see the document, but we need to have it on file. So she
Got
is
it.
explaining why her program does not have this requirement to not have the documents uploaded.
Sure. Yeah,
Okay.
that makes sense. So this relates to some like another section that we have later in the slide. So we'll maybe Anne can give us more input then. But thanks for that again.
Okay. Yeah, you can. Thank you, Anne.
Let's,
Thank you.
so let's move to the next section, which is fulfillment by school. Like I was saying, at times schools upload required documents on behalf of the students, and the compliance module allows you to do that in various ways. So you can always open a document and input the information as a student would, right? So you can, like you were seeing when Kiran was demonstrating the various documents that he had set up, you could, just one sec, let's go to the system. Yeah. So you could open any document that a student has, not worked on yet, and you could just input the information just like the student would, right? So you would input the fields, you could upload a file, and you could just submit the document on behalf of the student, right? So all those capabilities you can do, right? You can basically, you have all the power and access that the student has. So if they can fulfill their documents, so can you on behalf of them for various reasons. But this method is more suitable for submitting documents on behalf of one-off students, right? Or maybe one-off documents, because it's a very labor-intensive process, right? Like you have to go to every student's every document and then upload it on their behalf. So this is only when there's like an exceptional reason why you are doing it for that student, or maybe for that one document for all students. Otherwise, you're always better off asking your students to do this from their portals, unless they are not in a position to do it themselves. The other mechanism that Exxat provides is more suitable for documents which are not unique for each student, right? And the best example that we know of is um, the group liability insurance, right? So if you purchase a group liability insurance, you don't have to ask all of your students to upload that same document in their own screens, right? Because it's one single file, one single document that applies to everyone. So for that, what you can do is you can use a layout that we call as uploaded by school. And Kiran, let's go to the setup for the class of 2022. And let's look at professional liability insurance. So this document has been set up as uploaded by school. And if you see in this drawer, you can you get options like the expiration date, as in the date on which you want the document to expire, some guidelines for the student, and the file that is common for the entire cohort, right? So you can upload that file. So I've uploaded something called as a PLI, which is the professional liability insurance that I've uploaded. So this file is the same file that everyone should see, should be sharing with the sites, using for their own purposes, and that's what we have uploaded here, right? And once you're done uploading it, you can just save it and publish the requirements, and it starts showing up for your students, right? Um, so this is this layout is as of today only available in the insurance category, and you just saw how to set it up and how to use it. The other thing that you need to know is that these documents, the upload by school documents, they are not listed in the summary screen, right? So they don't show up in the summary screen because they do not require any review. You are the person who has uploaded it, and definitely, it applies to all students, and the same file applies to all students, so you don't have to review it per student. So they are instead listed in the dashboard, so that you can keep an eye on its state, right? In case it expires, you can get an alarm on, oh, it's expiring, and do something about it, right? So you see the fourth widget on the screen, on the dashboard screen, it's called Documents Uploaded by School. There it lists all the documents that have been uploaded by you for this cohort. You can click on this to see the actual file which has been uploaded. You can view the document by clicking on the view document link, right? So and you can see the status here and everything. So this is how the uploaded by school requirement works. The students, however, are able to see this document in their screens under the uploaded by school bucket. You can see this if you go to the student section. You can still see, right? So let's go to maybe one student. So Kiran just clicked on the name of the student, and that takes you to the student's profile in the student module. There, if you click on the compliance tab, you'll be able to see the document under the uploaded by school bucket as professional liability insurance, right? The same way the student also sees it in their screen. So we want to go to a poll now. And the poll is, do you have use for upload by school layout in your program's required documents? It's a yes, no type question. But and let's, so okay, have you started the poll? All right, thank you. So while you're responding to this question on whether this layout is of any use for your program's required documents, you can also leave comments for us around whether this layout may be useful for you in other categories other than the insurance, right? Today, like I said earlier, we already we only enable it in the insurance category, but we would like to understand if there's applicability for this in a different category of documents. So do let us know in the comments, in the question section. Do let us know if you have any examples where this could be useful in other categories as well. I think the poll is largely, like, I see people saying yes for the poll. So I think we can close it now.
Okay.
Yeah, but are there questions? Sorry, are there any suggestions around what other categories could benefit from having an uploaded by school side of layout? You guys can type
Not
it.
yet, Anupam. I don't see any questions or
Sure.
comments. Yeah, but let's wait for a minute to see if anybody wants to share any information.
All right. So while you guys are thinking of any inputs for us to type in, there's another open discussion that we'd like to have, which is around in what situations uh, do you upload documents on behalf of some or all of your students that you manage compliance for, right? I know we have like a smallish audience size today, but if anyone present would like to give out any inputs on what are the various reasons why you upload documents on behalf of your students, we would love to hear that. All right, I think we won't like wait for
maybe you
that.
can go ahead if there are anybody added any comments. I will
Sure.
you and we can look at them.
Sure,
But you
absolutely.
yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to the next section, which is sharing compliance data with site. Now, compliance provides you with mechanisms to share students' compliance data with site and also exercise some control over it. We want to talk to you about all of that in this section. The first method is via profile link, right? So when you share the student's profile with a site personnel, you can include students' compliance data as well. So I'm, of course, assuming that you are aware of the share profile section. So Kiran just opened the share profile drawer from the student's profile, and you see all these options in the drawer. And the third option there is include compliance document in the profile link, right? So this is the method by which you can include the compliance data as well in the profile link that goes out to your preceptors in the delegate link that they get, right? This same capability is, of course, available to the student side as well. They also have the same drawer, and they all got the same option to include compliance or not with their profile. One point I want to call out is you have one extra layer of control, which is that you can decide which specific documents you want to share with the site, right? So, for instance, in this example, and maybe we can use a different student as an example, Kiran, so that there are more documents which can be shared with. Right. So as you can see, there are like, 3 documents which are showing up here, and you can decide whether you want to share all 3 or do you want to pick specific documents that you want to share with your site, right? So this gives you some control over what data is seen by them, and in that way you can make it suitable for whatever site you're working with, right? So this is one way you can share information with your site. One thing that you should note is that the documents that are listed on this drawer, there's a condition that they have to satisfy for them to be listed here, right? First of all, they have to have been set up as including profile link as yes, right? So there's in the setup screen, and let's look at maybe one document in the setup screen to show exactly which bit we are talking about, right? Yeah. So this bit, include in profile link, allows you to decide whether a document can be shared with the site or not, right? So if this is yes, only in that situation it gets listed on the profile link share drawer, and from there you can say yes or no for it, right? The other condition that it should satisfy is that that document should be in approved status, right? That is also something that we take care of. So when these 2 conditions are met, those documents are listed on the profile share drawer, and you can select and share it with it. An exception to this logic is the Hep B document. We understand that for Hep B vaccination, there can be a long gap in the doses. So for Hep B, even if it is in progress status, you can share with the site, and it shows up on this screen. So this is how you share via the profiling. But there's another way for you to share students' compliance data. We call it the PDF report. And what it does is it allows you to download a detailed snapshot of the student's compliance, right? You can decide which documents you want to include in this report, and that inclusion informs the details included and the overall compliance status seen in the generated report, right? So it's basically like a PDF file with all the details that you want to include of the documents that you want to include, and like an overall status of is the student compliant, not compliant, right? So for instance, we just selected all documents for Elton and for Megan, sorry, and this is the kind of PDF that got generated. So you can see the name of the requirements, their status, all the various information that the student has provided, the expiration dates, right? So those kind of things you see in this PDF file. And on the top, you can also see some like overall information, that is the student compliant, not compliant, what is the date stamp on which this report was generated. Those are kind of information you can get, right? So if you don't feel comfortable enough sharing the files and the actual documents with the site, you can just generate a PDF report from here and share this with the site to give a snapshot of the student's compliance. All right. So with this, we can go to the next poll. By the way, let me just quickly also call out that, Kiran, so can you also show how to download this PDF report from the main compliance screen, right? So you're showing it from the student profile, but you can also go to the summary screen, and in front of the student's name, there's a button for downloading the same thing. You can just use the same method there as well. All right. So with that, I think we should move to the next section, which is our poll. And the poll is basically asking for how do you prefer sharing compliance data with the preceptors? And have you started? All right.
Yes, yes, Anupam, I have started the poll. Let's give the attendees a minute to answer it.
All right.
Yeah, so far we have responses that are saying they use the profile link to share the compliance data.
Right. Happy to hear that our features are helping them. Thanks for the response, guys. Let's close the poll. All right. Okay. So let's go to the next section, which is notifications for compliance. So compliance supports two ways for you to notify your students, right? About it. So you can notify your students about documents that need their attention, and those two ways are like manual notification and and auto notifications. So there's a notification tab in the compliance section which allows you to send notifications to students who match a certain criteria, and in a short while Kiran will showcase how those notifications go out. So let's go to, so this is the notification screen, as you can see, and you can select any student and send out an email to them by clicking the compose email, right? Now, what Kiran did was he selected a specific student, but you could, instead of having to select specific student, you could just put in a filter of, let's say, all students with expired document, right? So you could go to the status, select expired and expiring, and apply that filter, and it would list only the students who have any document which are in expiring or expired statuses, and then just select all and send notification to all of those, right? So the screen allows you to define criteria under which you would want to notify students, right? It could be for expirations, it could be documents which are not ready yet, right? So this is what the screen allows you to, right? And you can just go to the next section where you can decide the template. Um, it basically lists all the documents that match the criteria that you have set, right? So it won't list all the documents that these two students have. It will only have that one document which is in expired status, and will ask the student to act on the listed document, right? So this is, and let's close this drawer here. Thank you. So this is how you can send out manual notifications. But you don't have to do this effort all by yourself, right? You can instead set up auto notifications for the entire cohort. So how you do that? You go to the setup screen, and there you see the option for auto notifications right on top. And when you do this, when you set auto notification yes for a cohort, what it does is it sends an email to students once a week automatically with a list of all the documents that need their attention, right? And a request to act on them. Now, these students will receive an email, and this is what the drawer also tells you, that the students will receive an email only if one or more of their documents are in these statuses. They're either not approved, expiring, or expired, or they're past their due date or past their follow-up date, right? So this is the auto notification that we support today in the system. Instead of having to go and manually send these emails and notify our students when they have some document that they should, take some action on, you can just switch it yes for the cohort, and then all the students will get those notifications based on the criteria that you are looking at in front of you on the screen, right? You can also decide a date on which the notifications will stop, right? So that's the field at the bottom, notification end date, is basically going to stop the notifications for the entire cohort. This is more suitable for a lockstep setup where you know the graduation date for most of the students, and hence a date can be decided. We're working towards giving you more capabilities on this in this setup. So today you can only decide whether the notification is yes or no. But later we also want to help you decide what day and time on which these emails will go out in the week, or the email template that is used for sending notifications, or disable those notifications when they have been set up, right? So these are the things that today you have to do via a support ticket, but for now, but soon we want to develop this into this store itself as a front-end capability. Now, one thing that I want to call out is that you can also see the history of all the notifications that are sent manually by you or automatically by the system. So where do you see it? You go to the notification section again, and there's a history button there. Here, all the emails that have gone out are listed, be it sent by you or by the system automatically, right? There's also a filter up top to filter for only the auto notification or only the manual notifications, filters for specific dates, and you can even search for specific student names to see any specific students' notifications, right? So next, what we want to do is we want to have an open discussion. We need some, pointers from you all on what auto notification capabilities would you like to see in the system, and so we understand that this auto notification is not all right. You need other ways to notify your students, other reasons to notify your students. For instance, some of you might want to notify the students as soon as their documents expired, right, as opposed to once a week. But we would like to hear from you as to what all such things you would like to see in the system. We also don't support any notifications for the school users today, right, for you specifically. So are there any specific notifications that you would like to receive for compliance? So these are the kind of questions that we have in our minds, and we would like to hear your responses. So please go ahead and let us know. You can raise your hand and you can speak out also if you have any specific pointers around it. All right. I think.
Anupam. So
Yeah.
I think you can proceed.
All right. So the next what we have is a poll. We want to ask if you would like to let the students set some of these preferences around what notification they get, how often do they get these notifications, and how do they get these notifications, right? So, so what is your view on that? Do you want to give some preferences, some ability to set these preferences to your students, or is this something that you would want to keep in your control? I see. Yeah. So we understand that you would want to have some control over.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for that feedback. Yeah. Okay. So with this, we've come to the end of the specific queries and topics that we had in our mind. We have still some time left in the webinar. So if you have any questions, any feedback for the compliance section, you guys can raise your hand, and Kanti can mute you and you can speak out those queries.
Anne has a comment that she added, Anupam,
Sure.
saying, I can't think of anything else for auto notifications now.
Yeah.
I like the setup and the future expansion. So thank you, Anne. Thank you for your feedback.
Okay. All right.
Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions or comments.
All right.
But
So,
we'll have a survey at the end of the session. So if you can let us know what other topics that you want us to cover for our future sessions, that will be very helpful.
definitely. All right. Thanks, everyone. So we'll close the sharing now. Yeah.
Yeah. And thank you, everyone. We have these fireside chat webinars every week. So please look at our website for the next sessions, and we hope you see you there. Thank you and have a good day. Bye.